Okay, let's get into this. You know that feeling. When you're trying to learn something new, especially in creative fields like, say, branding or design.
Oh, yeah. Information overload is real.
Totally. It feels like you're just swimming in stuff, everyone's saying similar things. But, like, getting real clarity, that seems tough sometimes, right?
It absolutely is. There's
Hmm.
so many opinions, so many different ways to approach creative work. It's hard to know what's actually useful and what's just noise.
Exactly. So today we're doing something a bit different, a deep dive. We've taken Razakhan's book, The Creative Flow, and we've really tried to distill the core ideas.
Hmm.
Think of it less like just flipping through and more like extracting the essentials,
Right.
the actionable stuff you can actually think about and maybe use.
And what's interesting about Raza Khan, the source here, is that this isn't just theory. He's got, what, over a decade in design?
Yeah, quite a bit of experience.
And he mentions struggling early on without much mentorship. That seems to be a big driver for him sharing his knowledge now. It comes from a real place.
Right. And that's our mission for this deep dive, really, to pull out the practical, the immediately useful bits about branding, about mindset, and the professional side of things, too.
Yeah, the day-to-day realities.
Exactly. We want to give you, the listener, a bit of a shortcut, maybe, help you grasp key concepts and avoid some common bumps in the road. We'll touch on logo ideas, understanding clients, creativity, managing your career.
It's quite comprehensive. He breaks the book down, and we're focusing mainly on three big chunks: branding, mindset, and professional tips. Covers a lot of ground.
Okay, let's jump into branding then. The big question, always. How do you actually come up with logo ideas? It can feel a bit like, I don't know, magic sometimes.
Well, Raza really pushes back on that idea of magic. He stresses something often overlooked, nurturing your mind.
Nurturing your mind, how so?
It's about your life experiences, your general knowledge, what you read, who influences you, just observing the world.
Yeah.
That's the real soil where ideas grow, he argues.
Okay, so it's not just about scrolling through Pinterest or Behance for hours.
Right. He says, building that visual vocabulary is important. It's a start. But the real depth, the originality, that comes from engaging with life more broadly.
That makes sense. So the key takeaway is continuous learning, broadening your horizons even outside of design.
Exactly. For logo designers, for anyone in visual identity, it's essential. It's like tending a garden, constant cultivation.
Okay. Sticking with logos, he gets into strategy. Evolutionary versus revolutionary rebranding sounds kind of dramatic.
They are pretty different strategies. An evolutionary rebrand is more gradual. You're tweaking, updating, maybe fixing weaknesses, but you keep the core stuff people recognize.
Like McKinsey and Company, they updated, but it still feels like McKinsey.
Exactly. Perfect example. It's best for brands that already have strong recognition. You don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater.
Yeah, imagine if Coca-Cola suddenly ditched their script logo. Chaos.
Total chaos.
Yeah.
They made tiny tweaks over like a century, but that core look, it stays. Now, revolutionary rebranding, that's the opposite.
A total overhaul.
Yeah, a radical change. You might ditch old elements completely. Think Animal Planet back in 2018.
Oh, I remember that. Big shift.
Huge shift. And Raza points out this can work if a brand has low recognition, but it's super risky for established ones, like Johnson & Johnson changing their classic script.
Right. People weren't thrilled about that, were they? Felt less familiar.
Yeah, some felt it lost that warmth, that empathy. So the big point is choosing between evolutionary or revolutionary. It totally depends on the brand's situation and goals. It's strategy, not just looks.
Got it. Deeply strategic. Okay, so the actual process of designing a logo, he outlines 16 steps. That sounds like a lot.
It is detailed. It's way more than just firing up Illustrator.
Okay, give us the highlights. What are some key steps in this framework?
Well, it starts deep. Understanding the business itself, what it does, its industry, goals, USP, the problems it solves, where it operates, all that groundwork.
Right, the fundamentals.
Then, just as crucial, understanding the audience. Not just demographics, but psychographics, their values, attitudes, lifestyle. What are their challenges? How does the business help them?
Okay, business and audience. Then what?
Competition. You got to know who else is out there, how they talk, how they look, how they position themselves, and then understanding the client's visual taste.
Ah, okay. What they like and, importantly, why they like it.
Exactly. Asking about logo types, styles, favorite examples. Then you get into things like mind mapping, identifying a brand archetype, yeah, using Carl Jung's ideas for personality.
Yeah, like the hero, the sage.
Right. Defining maybe 3 to 6 core personality traits for the brand. Even defining the tone of voice is it fun. Serious. technical.
So you're building this really detailed brand persona before you even draw anything.
Pretty much. Then it covers practical stuff like ensuring the logo is responsive, works small, works big, choosing colors, primary and secondary, typography, headline, body text.
The visual building blocks.
Photography style, patterns, icon design, creating realistic mock-ups so the client can see it in context. And finally, pulling it all together in brand guidelines.
Wow, okay, that is comprehensive. It's clearly about building something solid and strategic, not just pretty.
Absolutely. It's a framework for impact. And speaking of impact, another really important point he raises is inclusivity in color choices, specifically color blindness.
Ah, that's something I think gets missed sometimes.
It's surprisingly common. He quotes a statistic like over 4.5% of people have some form, but it's way higher in males, maybe
Yeah.
8–10%.
Wow, okay. So if your audience is largely male, this is critical.
Definitely. The most common type, deuteranomaly, affects how people see green. You could design something amazing that just doesn't land visually for a chunk of your audience.
So what can you do? Are there tools?
Yeah, thankfully. He mentions proofing tools right in Adobe Illustrator and Adobe Color. They have simulators for different types of color vision deficiency or CVD.
Oh, that's built right in. Handy.
Yeah. And there's also a website, Pilestone Simulator, where you can upload your color palette and see how it looks, even export images.
That's super practical. Designing inclusively just makes sense. You want everyone to connect with the brand.
Exactly. Now, shifting slightly, there's a great Q&A in the book with Simon Dixon, co-founder of Dixon Baxi. Big name.
Oh, yeah, definitely. What's his take on coming up with ideas? Inspiration?
It's interesting. He says his process is less systematic now, more intuitive, relying on experience, but he needs fuel.
Fuel, like project details.
The understanding the what, the who for, the strategy, the context. But then during the actual creation, he wants a clear head.
Yeah.
Tries not to look at too much specific stuff to avoid being derivative.
Okay, so absorb the strategy, then let the imagination run free.
Kind of. He really values imagination, and talking things through helps him form ideas too.
And inspiration, where does that come from for him?
He says everywhere, but again, he prefers not to be consciously aware of specific influences while creating. He wants to avoid just copying.
Yeah.
So he draws on this huge range of background stuff, music, images, books, films, conversations, as sort of ambient fuel, aiming for leaps of imagination, not direct borrowing.
That's fascinating. Letting it all just sort of simmer in the background, trusting something unique will pop out.
Exactly. Okay, let's talk about something super practical, maybe a bit stressful, dealing with clients. Specifically, that question. What if I don't like it?
Ugh, yes. Every designer dreads that one. That feeling when you present and you're just waiting.
Raza shares an early story about that exact moment. He critiques that old school process. Get the brief, go away, and design in secret. Then the big reveal.
Yeah, it's such a gamble for everyone involved. Leads to awkward revisions, trying to mush options together, or the client suddenly wanting something totally different.
Right, so his big push is for gradual client involvement. Bring them in at key points.
Like when?
Discovery call, definitely. The research phase. When you're nailing down the brand personality. Even looking at early sketches or initial digital concepts.
So no big surprises at the end. They're part of the journey.
Exactly. And then the final presentation is just adopt. It's walking them through the whole story. Yeah. The problem, the audience, the goals, the competitors, the positioning, the personality, and then showing how the design solves all that. Explaining the why.
Ah, building the case, showing the thinking behind it.
Precisely. The goal is for the client to say, yes, that's exactly what we needed, because they understand the logic and they've been involved along the way.
That makes so much sense. Okay, what about designing for newer tech, like blockchain, NFTs, Web3? Seems intimidating.
It can feel like you need a PhD in crypto just to start.
Yeah.
But Ross's advice is actually surprisingly simple.
Oh yeah, what is it?
Stick to the fundamentals of logo and brand identity design. Understand the basics of the tech, sure, but don't obsess over the nitty-gritty.
Really? You don't need to be an expert.
He uses Paul Rand's IBM logo as an example, designed in '72, when computers were scary and complex for most people.
Right. And the logo isn't a picture of a computer.
Not at all. Rand said, there is nothing about the IBM symbol that suggests computers. It's a unique lettermark, and it's iconic. The point is, a logo identifies, it doesn't have to describe.
Okay, so don't get sucked into designing cliché blockchain visuals. Focus on a strong, timeless mark.
Exactly. And speaking of fundamental elements, typeface personality, he really stresses this.
How font feels.
Yeah. It's not just about readability. Typefaces convey moods, attitudes. Modern, traditional, playful, serious, trustworthy, all of it. Choosing the right typeface is huge for perception.
It's like the brand's tone of voice, but visual.
That's a great way to put it. And building on that, he quickly covers the main logo types, word marks, letter marks,
Such
symbols.
different categories. Super
With
mighty.
word mark like Google, letter mark like CNN, symbol like Apple, abstract like Adidas, mascot like MailChimp, emblem like Harley Davidson, combination like MasterCard.
Gives you options.
Right. And he notes things to consider when choosing. Your audience, the message, where it'll be used, what competitors are doing. The right type of logo matters a lot for identity.
Okay, that's a ton of great stuff on branding. Let's shift gears. Mindset. This feels crucial for creatives.
Absolutely. And one of the first things he tackles is avoiding the victim play. That it's not my fault reflex.
Ah, yes. Blaming the brief, blaming the client, blaming the tools.
Exactly. He says it's often a default defense mechanism to avoid responsibility. The brief was too tight, or maybe it was too open. The existing logo was bad, or maybe it was too good to follow. Creative block, long name.
Ha! You can always find something to blame if you look hard enough.
Pretty much. And the downside.
Yeah.
You just become this non-productive whining machine, as he puts it. Doesn't help you create.
Definitely not. So how do you break out of that?
He lists a few things. Believing you do have control, taking responsibility, accepting reality even if it's tough, practicing gratitude, focusing beyond yourself, building empathy, staying moderate in your thoughts, not too self-pitying, not too self-critical. Mindset, he says, drives everything.
Keeping your thoughts in check seems key. Okay, what about the classic "I'm just not creative"? So many people feel that way.
He really challenges that. Says we're all born creative, but kind of is knocked out of us sometimes.
Right. School, rules, expectations.
Yeah. But the good news is he sees creativity as a skill, like a muscle. You can exercise it, make it stronger.
Okay, I like that. So how do you work out your creativity muscle? What are the exercises?
He gives a bunch of ideas. Get out in nature, no phone, read fiction, travel, meet new people, really listen to them, write randomly, just stream of consciousness, solve puzzles.
Things that shake up your routine.
Exactly. Draw or paint without judging yourself. Use pen and paper. Cut down screen time. Exercise. Meditate. Sleep well. And this is interesting. Allow yourself to goof off. Even be bored sometimes. Play with kids.
Boredom can be productive.
Apparently. Lets your mind wander. He stresses it's gradual, takes effort. Maybe not 10,000 hours instantly, but just focus on being a bit better, a bit more creative than yesterday. Persevere.
Okay, that feels achievable. Small steps. Now, there's an interesting story he tells, the Joshua Tree story, about perception.
Yeah, this is a great one. From a Robin Williams book, apparently. He lived near Joshua trees for like 13 years, but never really saw them.
Didn't notice them.
Not consciously. Until someone pointed them out, told him the name, what they looked like, then suddenly they were everywhere.
Ah, like once you can name something, you become aware of it.
Precisely. He connects it to a quote. You can't draw what you can't see, and you can't see what you don't know. Once you learn about, say, typeface personalities, you start seeing them everywhere.
Okay, so knowledge literally changes how you perceive the world.
It enables you to see, then think, then create.
Yeah.
So keep learning new concepts, expand your visual vocabulary, stay curious. That's the message.
Powerful idea. Okay, what about self-taught designers? That term gets thrown around.
Yeah, and he pushes back on the idea that it means learning in total isolation, like you're locked in a basement reinventing the wheel.
Right, which isn't usually true.
Not at all. Self-taught designers learn from tons of sources, just not formal design school. Online tutorials, books, workshops, mentors, trial and error. Learning from failures is huge.
So it's a different path, maybe less structured, but still involves learning from others and resources.
Exactly. It can be tough, figuring it out on your own, but it's a totally valid path to success. They're learning just differently.
Okay. Now, a big one. Receiving design critique can be tough emotionally.
Super tough. His main advice, don't take it personally. Easier said than done, maybe.
Sure.
But try. Remember, it's about the work, not you. Cultivate detachment. Don't jump to defend, listen first. Take notes, review later. Try to be objective. Does the feedback help solve the actual problem?
Engage with it as a conversation, not a battle.
Exactly. See it as a chance to learn. Ask for feedback often, actually.
Yeah.
Get used to it. The result, your designs will get better at solving real problems.
Reframing critique as a tool for growth. Okay. Then there's this point. Never seek peer approval. Design only for yourself. Sounds bold.
It does sound a bit isolating, maybe,
Yeah.
but his point is about where you get your validation from.
Okay. Explain that.
Don't measure your work's quality just by how many likes it gets or what other designers say. Relying too much on that external praise, it can mess with your self-worth, lead to self-doubt if you don't get it.
Right. You start questioning yourself.
Exactly. So he says, aim to beat your past self. Design to prove your own worth, to meet your own standards. Focus on personal growth, not just applause. Find that internal drive.
Internal validation over external.
Got it. And this all comes back to mindset being the driving force, keeping those thoughts constructive.
Absolutely. Mindset is foundational. Okay, let's move into the professional tips. Real-world navigation. How about managing your manager, especially with creative disagreements?
Oh yeah, the classic scenario. You think one way, your manager thinks another, and you feel stuck.
It happens all the time. Can lead to resentment, kill your creativity. Roz's advice is pretty proactive here.
What's the move?
Design both. Do the option your manager asked for, and also develop the solution you believe in. Okay, so you do the requested work, but also pursue your own idea. How do you present that?
Show the manager's option first. Show you listened, you delivered. Then present your alternative as like a mini case study. Explain your thinking, the why behind it, the benefits.
Oh, that's smart. It respects their position, but still gives your idea a platform.
Exactly. It keeps them happy, lets you grow, shows initiative, problem solving. It might even build trust over time, make them more open to your ideas next time.
It's about taking control of your own development, even if the situation isn't perfect. Get your ideas out there, learn from it.
Right. Don't just wait for permission. Okay, flipping the script. How to mentor creatives. What should you look for in someone you might mentor?
Is it just about teaching anyone who asks?
Raza suggests being a bit selective, actually. Mentoring takes time and energy. It works best if the person is really ready.
So what makes someone ready? What are the key traits?
A real desire to learn, obviously. Passion and dedication. He says they need to put in 200% effort. Basically show they're serious and, crucially, respect for your time.
Okay, commitment and respect. What if someone asks, but maybe isn't quite showing that level yet? Just say no.
Not necessarily slam the door. He suggests offering general guidance. Point them to resources, books, websites, courses, videos, platforms you find helpful. Share useful stuff publicly, too.
So you can still help without committing to intensive one-on-one time.
Exactly. Be selective with deep mentoring to make it impactful, but stay helpful generally. Share resources.
That seems like a good balance. Okay, finding clients, especially high-paying ones. LinkedIn comes up a lot. Raza calls it a goldmine.
He does, and he gives 6 specific ways to leverage it, especially for freelance gigs.
Okay, let's hear them. Actionable tips.
First, follow the right people. Not just anyone, but people posting relevant international job opportunities. Then, follow their connections too. Expand that network strategically.
Makes sense. Build the network. What's next?
Engage. Don't just lurk like relevant posts. More importantly, comment thoughtfully. Add value to conversations. It gets you noticed.
Okay, be visible, be valuable. Third.
Thought leadership. Pick your niche, your expertise. Post regularly, maybe 2-3 times a week. Simple text posts, sharing insights, tips, value. Don't stress about perfection, just share what you know. Establish yourself as an expert.
Okay, follow, engage, share expertise. What else?
4, join relevant closed communities. Agencies often have these on Slack, Discord, Circle. Look for job channels there. 5, share your case studies on LinkedIn. Briefly explain the process, the problem you solved. Don't just link out.
Keep people on the platform. Makes sense. And number 6.
Use ADP List. Great platform. Find mentors globally, chat for free, book sessions on specific topics. It's great for learning and networking.
Wow, okay, that's a solid LinkedIn strategy. Consistent effort seems key. Now, what about when you need help? The right way to seek help.
Yeah, the key here is do your homework first. Don't just ask someone to solve your problem without trying yourself. Value their time.
Right. Show you've put in the effort. So what does doing homework look like?
Write down your specific questions. Note the steps you've already taken. What worked, what didn't. List what you're actually trying to achieve, the desired outcome.
Get clear in your own head first.
Exactly. Then, when you ask, brief intro, list your remaining questions, explain your efforts, state the outcome you want, keep it concise. Articulating it helps you, and showing effort makes others much more willing to help.
Makes total sense. Respect people's time by respecting your own first. Communication. He calls this the most important skill for a professional. Strong claim.
Very strong, but he backs it up. Think about it. Task unclear. You need to communicate. Gonna miss a meeting. Communicate. Deadline slipping. Communicate early. Unhappy with a review? Communicate.
Okay, yeah. Proactive, clear communication avoids so many
It's
problems.
absolutely essential for your career growth. Can't just hide and hope things work out.
True. Finally, what if someone asks you a question at work? How should you respond?
Basically, don't be a jerk. Never embarrass or belittle someone for asking, no matter how simple the question seems to you.
Let's foster a learning culture, right?
Exactly. See it as a positive, something they want to learn. Help them out selflessly.
Yeah.
Create a safe space where people feel okay asking, trying to learn, respect their effort.
It comes back to empathy and support, helping everyone grow.
That's the core of it.
Okay. So, as we wrap up this deep dive into the creative flow, what are maybe 2 or 3 big takeaways for the learner listening?
I think, firstly, that idea that real creativity isn't just about visual skill, it's fueled by continuous learning and broad life experience. That's huge.
Yeah, nurture your mind.
Secondly, the power of involving clients throughout the process. It's not about guarding your ideas, it's about collaboration for better results. That's super practical.
Building that trust and understanding.
And maybe thirdly, the concrete steps for using a tool like LinkedIn. It's not just a
Ah,
profile, it's an active way to build connections and find opportunities if you use it strategically.
definitely. And remember, if you're listening, the learner, our goal here was to give you that shortcut, that practical guidance to feel a bit more informed, maybe a bit less overwhelmed in this creative field.
Right, so maybe a final thought to chew on. Beyond all the specific tips, how might consistently applying just one of these mindset shifts, like avoiding the victim play or focusing on internal validation, how might that compound over time for you? What's one small change you might experiment with this week based on all this?
Ooh, I like that. A small experiment. And of course, if this deep dive sparked your interest and you want to go even deeper, definitely check out the source itself, Raza Khan's book, The Creative Flow. You should be able to find it easily online.